Well, good morning, good day, good afternoon. Welcome to the Down Low. I'm Joel Lowe, and with me always is
Hey everyone, Mike
Mike,
Durezzo.
Mike Dorezzo, right? You gotta love Mike, right? So today, what are we gonna talk about? Something exciting, something different, something new? Nah, pretty much some of
Nah,
the same stuff that we talked about before. We're gonna talk about Meta, the metaverse,
right.
Facebook, and why GDPR just seems to be an issue for them, right? They just don't want to follow those simple rules, right? Mike sent me something where they have been fined 400 million. That's with an million, right? For violating privacy, right? Of the GDPR. That's not even that's not their first fine. That's not their last fine. They've had several in 2022, just to name a few. I mean, 4 million just seems like a common number for them, right? So let's go over some of the issues and some of the things that we found out, Mike.
Yeah, so out of the news articles that we're pulling, just to bring us everybody up to the same page. So Meta is being fined for violating the European Union user privacy rights, which is GDPR, with non-consensual targeted advertising practices on Facebook and Instagram. So it's not just Facebook; it's not it's Facebook and Instagram, right?
Yep.
Separately. So more specifically, they're under fire for adding a clause into their advertising terms of services that essentially requires users to share their personal data, right? So, hey, you can't get this free service, unless you give up something in return for it, right?
Right.
So that term, nothing is free. What's not free here in this is you are giving up your personal data. And so 210
Yep.
million euros of fines were issued for Facebook violations, 180 million for Instagram violations. Yeah,
Yeah. It's a lot of coin. It's a lot
it
of
is.
coin. So my thing is, before we dive in, like let's go over like Mike, what is GDPR? Right.
Yeah, so GDPR is the European Union's privacy laws
Hmm.
that are accepted throughout the European Union. Each country has their own, sometimes separate. So Germany, Sweden, Finland, they all have their own data privacy laws. But as a whole, the all of European Union has their GDPR. And this is basically a global privacy law, even though it's European Union for EU citizens, people who live in the European Union or one of those countries, or owns property. They're a resident, right? So I'm a U.S. citizen. I own property and residence in France or one of the European Union countries. GDPR is applicable to me if I choose to decide to leverage it.
Hmm.
Um, so you as a person decide. The gist of it is, and you know, there's 7 principles, as Joel reminded me before. But Joel, just to water it down, is as a person, you get to decide who gets access to your data,
Yep.
where that data is kept, when
Yep.
to remove it, and what to use it for and what not to use it for, right? And the ability to say, I need you to get rid of it and give me a copy of whatever you have on me, just so
Yep.
I know what that looks like. And then obviously it protects you for data protection.
And
Um,
that's the gist around the whole GDPR, right? Is
right.
those key things that he just pointed out, and it's so important, right?
Yeah.
And it we were talking in the green room, and I was like, it saddens me that we don't have something like that in America, right?
Right. Not to
California
that
has a
level.
right, not to that level. And California has a Privacy Act as well, um, but other states have something smaller, similar, but nothing that goes as far as GDPR
Yeah,
currently.
like North Carolina has some very significant privacy laws. I remember looking up regulatory controls and things like that for clients, and just looking at other countries, like global countries like Sweden and Finland and France, and going, "Wow, okay, those are pretty significant
Right.
privacy." But North Carolina, right, Michigan, Maryland, the M states, as I like to call them, have
The
also
M
have their
states.
significant privacy laws,
Right.
and labor laws and things like that. But they do have significant privacy laws. So it's not like we don't have any that exist. They're
Right.
usually surrounding around. They're usually around breaches, data breaches,
Right.
right? So like if a data breach happens, there's culpability and liability and things like that. But it doesn't restrict somebody from doing certain things
Right.
with your data. And that's kind of where we are as a country. Is we don't really what we use that data privacy stuff, and we call them demographics here for marketing. That's really what we use a lot of it for. The US is amazing at marketing, right?
Yeah.
But with that comes a price and a cost. And you had mentioned like they make enough revenue for paying that 4% fine, right?
I
Like
mean, it's
to
literally a
them, it's worth
business
it.
model. It's worth it. They did a cost analysis to determine that, hey, these fines are yeah, they're expensive, but they must make way more than that,
Yeah,
right? To accept
yeah,
$400 million fines and say, okay, because there's
yeah.
no sign of them like fixing something or changing something.
Right,
When all of 2002, you look it up, they've had like several fines of those numbers, right? And the fines are like 4% of their revenue, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
so when you look at 400 million, it's 4% of their revenue, right?
Right,
Is what it comes out to be. So what is their incentive to change? Right? Like,
right. I mean, I worked for a company where we could either change how we collect taxes in a certain county or state in the US where we had, retail centers or things like that, or we could just pay the fine. And literally we looked at it and go, well, in order to change our retail point of sale system, it's going to cost $1 million. And the fine is $30,000 a year. You're like, guess we're paying the fine. And you're like,
right.
okay. Like,
No.
and I can't blame them for doing that. You're like, yeah, that makes sense. Like we could sit on this for 30 years, or we can pay $1 million to just get a new point of sale, or just get a new point of sale. And it's like, yeah, we'll just wait to get a new point of sale in a couple of years, and then we'll make sure we can cover that. And
Right.
that went in as a use case on when we went to go look at a new point of sale was, can you calculate for this tax law correctly? You're like, yep, we got it. You're like, yep, and
There
all
it
it
is.
cost us was $90,000 over 3 years. That was a good savings, and you're like, all right, okay,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things in cybersecurity. Leadership makes decisions like that, right?
yeah,
It's not about always about what you think is right, right? The right thing to do is to go ahead and change that point of sale, right, to meet
yeah,
that requirement, right, so that you don't
right,
get fined. But from a
right.
business standpoint, the right thing to do was to pay the fine, right? We
Right.
hit with the fine and we pay it, right, and
Right.
we're fine with that. And there's a lot of decisions like that that go on, right?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
it's like
Go
the
ahead.
WWE says, what's best for business,
What's best for
right?
business, right?
What's best for business.
What's best for business. So I mean, again, don't get frustrated, right? Your job
Right.
is to present the information, make sure that they have all the things they need to know to make the best decision, right?
Right.
And then you go forth and make good things happen once they decide, right? And
Yeah.
you can sleep well at night because you're like, hey, I told them, they made this decision. I may not agree with it, but okay, I get it. Let's go, right?
Yeah.
And that's literally what's going on with Facebook or Meta, right? I mean, they're literally making your data is their job, right? That's how
Right.
they make their money, right? Sending you targeted ads to let you know, like, hey, you really want this scarf, right? You didn't know you wanted it, but you did, right? Hey, here's this new product that you needed that always seems to show up right after you start talking about it, right?
Right.
Which is interesting to me, right? I don't know if anybody's ever played
Well,
that game where you take your phone and you like just start talking about random stuff and then see if it shows up on your social media account. It never
we did
fails.
talk about that. We did talk
Right.
about that on a previous
We
podcast
did.
where,
We did.
and we had this conversation on New Year's Eve with my neighbors where, people are like, why does it keep happening? You're like, because somebody in this household searched for this product on their phone. And
Yes.
I joined your Wi-Fi. She joined your Wi-Fi. They joined your Wi-Fi. And
Yes.
now suddenly we're all getting targeted ads for your toothpaste.
Yes.
Um, that's how that happens.
That
Right?
is
That,
exactly
that
how
little
that
cookie
works.
goes, yeah, that cookie says you're in the same household as this person who just bought this toothpaste. Guess who's getting an ad on this toothpaste? Me.
Uh,
So,
and you're like, hey, we just talked about this toothpaste. Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
But to your point, how can they stop doing this? Right. This is how they make money. You sign up for Facebook for free. It costs you nothing to sign up
Right.
for a Facebook account, except your email, your privacy, and you're posting stuff on it,
Your
right?
firstborn child. I mean,
You
it doesn't cost
no,
nothing.
no, no,
I
no, no,
mean,
no. But like pictures of your firstborn child and your secondborn and your thirdborn and everything else, and you tagging them and stuff like that. it comes at a cost, right? And that cost is your personal data. So this is how they make money, right?
And they keep it, right? Because let me tell you how I know. Every year with my daughter's birthday, a picture will pop up and say, "Hey, do you want to repost this picture?" And it's from 8 years ago, 9 years ago, and I'm like, "Yo, I forgot about this picture. I only have a record of this picture, right?"
Right.
Or
Right.
every day, if you posted something on this day 3 years ago, they'll say, "Hey, do you want to repost this?" Or do you
Right.
remember this, right? And
Right.
that's how you know that I don't know how much data they store, but it's got to be a lot. My
Oh
God,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, and the way they're rolling with keeping your data and keeping you fresh, and also they'll remind you when you ain't posted in a while. Hey, we ain't heard
Yeah.
from you. Hey,
Yeah.
people love to hear from you, right? Like if
Yeah.
I went on like a couple of weeks where I was like, I'm not posting anything, I'm not looking, and then I started getting emails. Hey, Joe, we ain't seen you in a while. Hey, Joe, come
Really?
back. Hey, your friends want to hear from you. Hey, what better way to keep in touch than? And I was like, yo, this is great. Like, how?
Drug dealers will stop calling you after a while.
Right. I was like,
Not
yo,
much
this
of it.
is,
Not so much as social media platforms.
yeah. They attacked. And next thing you know, I was kind of like, oh, well, let me click on this one thing, right? Then next thing you know, I'm back in. They got me. I couldn't get out. So my thing is, anything that's too good to be true, it is. It
Yeah.
is, right?
Yeah.
One of the things we talked about too was why is it so hard, so easy to sign
Yeah.
up, but so
Yeah.
hard to get out?
Yeah.
Right? Like I gave you
Yeah.
this example, and I'll do it. I'll say it again. My example was before the pandemic. I used to go to a gym, but it was near where I worked. Right, so it's convenient for me. I'd go work out. I go to work, or after I got off work, I go work out. And it was one
Right.
of those simple things where they have these deals where you give them $1 and then you pay $10 or so many dollars a month and whatnot. So it wasn't truly expensive, and you could do
Yeah.
everything from the app. I signed up on
Right.
the app. I logged in when I went in on the app. Like everything I wanted to do, I could do on the app. I paid on the
Right.
app. App's your friend. Well, the pandemic happens. I'm no longer going into the office. It's not located conveniently to my house. So every now and then I try to go in, but I was like, yo, this is way too far, right? To then go
Right.
back. It just
Right.
didn't make sense. So I spent a whole day trying to delete or stop this. And I do everything on the app, but I could not cancel on the app. I went to frequent asked questions. I looked everywhere. I tried to pull out my payment information. I tried to stop it. It would not. So I called
Yeah.
them and say, hey, I am trying to cancel because it's hassle free. They always tell you, hey, you can sign up and cancel at any time with no fee, no penalty, right? I called them and said, hey, I just want to cancel. Where do I go on the app to cancel? Oh, no, 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 you can't cancel on an app. Why not? Yeah, you have to come in. What? But that's not convenient. I don't want to come in. I just want to cancel. Oh, no, no, you have to come in because we don't know. Somebody could be impersonating you, and we don't want to do that. It's for you. No, 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 no. I don't think I'm gonna get too upset if somebody cancel my gym membership. That's not gonna ruin my day, right? I don't know many people.
And they paid
Oh,
my parking tickets.
oh,
Those bastards.
oh, how dare they? Like
Right.
I went to the bank and was gonna pay a bill, and they were like, "We need to see your ID." And I said, "Let me be clear. If ever somebody comes in here to pay my bill, you don't ask for ID. You just say thank you." I don't understand. It was like, "Well, we got to." I was like, "That is a terrible policy. It's terrible."
Right. Right.
They're gonna pay my bill. You put a note on there to say, "Hey, Joel said it's okay." Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good looking out,
so,
buddy.
so my thing is, I literally had to go in the store to cancel. And while I'm in there, it's like, you sure? Hey, it's a great membership. With it. No, I just want to
Right.
cancel. No, it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense,
They
right?
car dealership too.
So my thing is, anywhere you go where it's easy to get in, like a casino, easy to get in, hard
Right.
to get out, right? And
Right.
you were talking about your time in Vegas and straight lines, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's no the newer casinos, they don't use straight lines
Nope.
to get you out of the casino area. They're at angles, which is genius. And we talked about it. And my brother lives in Vegas. I'll share it with everybody. My brother lives in Vegas. Um, and we were walking through a casino, and I was like, none of these, there's no easy way to get out of here. I was like, it's all angled lines. And he goes, oh, I never noticed that before. And I was like, it's like Washington, DC, which if people don't know this, Washington, DC, if you're ever driving around in DC, you don't know exactly where you're going. You're always going to end up in the mall.
Yep. In
right?
the
And the
center.
street or the mall.
Yep.
Those two places. It's happened to me countless times. Before the advent of GPS, I would end up in those two locations, and I knew how to get out of DC once I got to those two
Two
locations.
locations.
But
Right.
that was by design. That city was designed that way to confuse troops. And I was like, son of a gun, they employed that here at the casino floor. Genius. It was
Yep.
genius.
Yep. There's
But
so
yeah,
much technology that goes into making you stay and spend money, right?
yeah. Oh,
Everywhere it's like that. I mean, even
yeah,
from we talked about on cruise ships and how they have the bands, and I mean, even Disney has stuff like that. Everything's set
yeah,
up for you to, after a while, when you go back and look at it, you're like, how did I spend that much? Or
yeah.
how did
Where are you
I
going?
was
You don't need to go
leaving,
anywhere.
and next thing you know, I ended up staying at this slot machine and spent this much
Right,
money, and then somebody yelled over here because they won something on crap, so I went over there, and it's two
right,
hours later, and I'd have
right,
missed my whole day, right?
right, right.
It's set up
Yeah,
that
no
way.
clocks, no
None.
windows.
Nope.
Yeah, it's genius. It's genius.
It is.
Um,
It is.
so let's talk. So we talk about things like privacy and things like that.
Hmm.
It's important to know when you're going to give something up, right? And you
Right.
do, whether it's your email account. And we talked about this before with free Wi-Fi, and you give up your email account. And you're like, what are you actually giving up here?
Yep.
They're going to spam you. They're going to send you stuff that it's not free. It just doesn't cost you money
Right.
at the time. It's not free though, right? So, what are you giving up? Read those agreements, right? I'm the guy that reads through the end user license agreement, the EULAs. My mom told me don't ever agree to anything unless you know exactly what you're agreeing for. This is when I was a kid, like 12 years
Yeah.
old. She's like, "Ooh, don't agree to that. What are you giving up? What are
Right.
write it down. If you're like, I don't understand what I'm reading, just write it down. Just take it out. You're giving up this, you're giving up this, you're giving up this. And obviously, I'm not asking you to do that while you're looking through the downloaded app you just downloaded for your cell phone, but understand what you're giving up, right?
Right.
Hey, this is free, right? There's no ad generate, we're not going to give you ads or things like that. And you're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, it's free. And you're like, and yet
Mm,
it's not.
but
Um,
it's a catch. It's always
right.
a
And
catch.
you when you download ads, sometimes you'll be like, hey, we need access to your contacts. No, you don't. Why do you
Why?
need access to my contacts?
Why? Yeah.
Well, so we can spam your contacts. Like, yeah, no,
Exactly.
you're not
Yeah.
doing that. So just be aware, be cognizant. Like there is no such thing as free lunch. We've talked about that before, but this is again like how they make money. This is how companies make money. And if you're willing to give up certain things in order to have those services because you enjoy them, that's fine,
Yep.
right? That's okay. But just understand what you are giving up. I have a friend, Brandon. He tells me he and his neighbors swap those value keys. Like when you go to a supermarket and
Yeah.
he's like, oh yeah, we trade those constantly. Every other week, we're always like taking off our keychains and handing them out. I was like, why are you doing that? He goes, screw those people. Like, they don't do anything. They don't need to add anything, but we want the discount. So we're all changing, like, oh, you're a Kroger shopper. I'm a Kroger shopper. Here, here's your
Yeah.
discount card. And he's like, it's crazy. Like, he's like, there are no women in my household, and yet I'll get a coupon for Tampax. And I was like, and the register guy looks at him and he's like, yeah, there's no females in my household. It's all males. He's like,
Right.
huh. So, but it's
That's funny.
what are you giving up? What are you giving up? So let's
That's
talk
funny.
takeaways.
So talk about takeaways. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked about that. If it's hard to get in, easy to get in and hard to get out, right?
Right.
Why is it set up that way, right?
Right.
Again, knowing that it's easy for you to sign up for something. It's always when a new app comes out, they're always like, hey, we'll give you a free burger, or you get a free
Right.
milkshake, or you get a free whatever it is, right? Everything's ran
Right.
off of apps. Like I went to a department store, pretty famous clothing store that my mother-in-law and my wife and them love. They told us when we went in before Christmas that hey, starting the new year, we'll no longer take cash. Everything will be a credit card. And I was
Wow.
like, what? No more cash. Yeah, and I was like,
Wow.
so my thing is that's where things move. It will eventually be where like, hey, you'll be able to check out on your I check out like one of the things I love about Sam's is I
Yeah.
check out with my app. I
Yeah.
scan all my
Okay.
stuff. I don't have to
Yeah.
wait in lines. I literally go
Hmm.
to the front. They hit a barcode. It comes out of my account. I roll out. It
Nice.
is literally I am doing all the work, but it's for
Right.
convenience. The app
Right.
is gonna do everything, and it's gonna move
Right.
everything that way. I mean, think about before the evolution of gas, right?
Hmm.
So at one point, for people dating myself, there used to be a pump called full service or self service, right? Just gonna let you know. So if you pulled up the full service, somebody would come and pump your gas for you, and yeah, it was a little bit more expensive, but it was convenience. You never had to get out your car, right?
Right.
Then
Right.
we went
Unless you
to
live in New
self
Jersey,
Jersey. It's 100. We talked about
it's all
this,
full
right?
service. Yeah.
We talked about that, right? 100% full service, right? And then we went to self service only. And then what you do is you got out your car, you went inside, you paid for your gas, right? So you kind of rationalize like, hey, I think I need $20, right? And then if you go out there and you pump and it was only $18, you had to go back in, wait in line, get your
Get you
$2, right?
$2. Yep.
Then it went to you could pay at the pump, right? And you didn't have to go in, right? It's just the evolution of how things have moved, right? And that's one of the things that, like convenience, but also know what you're giving up, right?
Yeah.
For these
Yeah.
convenience, right?
Yeah.
What
You're
else do
losing your
we?
decency as a humanity.
I
You're
mean,
losing your humanity. Um, it's made of people. No.
it's people.
No, so the other thing is, a lot of these social media platforms, they update and they change their privacy settings, right?
Hmm. They
Joel
do,
mentioned that, you might get an email. You may or may not get, I can't remember the last time I got an email from Meta or Facebook. I
yeah,
may have been, and maybe it's going into spam. I don't know at
right,
this point.
right,
But be aware, like take a look at those options. There are little boxes that tell you what they actually do and what the dials and levers, change and everything else every 3 to 6 months. I was going to say, well, when they changed back the clocks for spring forward, spring back, but we're only doing that one more time here in the U.S. So maybe once a
yes,
quarter or something like that. Update your privacy settings. Just at least take a
right,
look at them, make sure that
right,
they're appropriate to what you're willing to give up and
correct.
wanting to share. And your children. Check on your children's privacy settings, right?
Hmm.
Maybe you want to check on them a little bit more frequently in case they go in and Danny says I can't do this unless I turn the setting on. They're like, well, you can't turn that setting off
Right,
because then suddenly the bad people see you.
right,
And they try to send you notifications. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
right.
Maybe that's why they get fined again because they
That
don't
is
send
probably
people
why. Right,
notifications. What
right.
else we got?
And make sure you read through, right? It sucks, right?
It sucks.
It does. It nothing cute
Right.
about it, nothing fun
Nope.
about it. The language isn't something that you're gonna sit back and be like, yo, this is a great novel that I
Right.
bestseller on New York Times. No, it sucks, right?
It sucks.
But you should read through it, right?
Yeah.
Even if you don't do nothing but hit the cliff notes, right? The high notes.
Yeah.
Definitely read through it. Know that nothing in this beautiful world is free, right?
Yeah.
You can't you
No, it
can't
costs
have
you
you
something.
can't have a kid for free, right? I mean,
Right.
everything costs you,
Right.
right? I
Right.
mean, no matter what. So and know what you're giving up, right?
Yeah.
For what you're getting. And know if it's right, if it makes sense to you.
Yeah.
And then know that you do have the power to ask these companies to delete your data, right? Even though we don't have the GDPR behind us, right? There are other laws and things that you can say, hey, I want you to cancel my stuff. I want
Right.
to delete this, or what are you doing with this? You can ask them that, right? And
Yeah.
most companies, because they have to deal with GDPR, already have something in place, right?
Correct. Right.
Um,
They've
so I
looked at
work for
that.
a company. We literally changed our whole privacy thing to meet GDPR, and then was like, we're just going to use it across the board for everybody, right? Because it made it easier to manage. So that
Yeah.
if somebody in Nebraska came and was like, "Hey, what are you doing with my data? I want to delete it," we had used the same policy, right? The same procedures to delete it as we did for somebody in the EU, right? So
Right.
most companies do that because it's cheaper, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to get it done. And in the event that we do come up with some kind of laws that kind of mimic that, we're already there, right?
Yeah.
So you could ask, right? Inquire about your data. I would, and figure out what's going on. So,
Yeah. So, and it's the new year, right? So,
yep.
this is something that just popped in my head. It's a new year.
Hmm.
This is something. It's always time to do spring cleaning, right? So that last week of the year in between Christmas and New Year's, when we were in the office is usually when I cleaned out my office because I'm a messy
Yes.
person that collects
Yes.
everything. Um, and so part of that though is unsubscribing from emails, right? Did I
Hmm.
get any value of this year, or did I
Nope.
just delete this email over and over and over again? Well, then I'm just going to unsubscribe,
Yep.
right? It's super easy. Just designate a day and just say spring cleaning time for my internet, and just go through and unsubscribe, right? If I don't need it, just get rid of it. Just it takes up
I,
time
I do
in
that
your life just to
with
delete it.
my personal emails as well, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get subscribed to a lot of things. If there's something I'm just like, why am I still getting this? Right?
yeah.
I'll delete it,
Right,
right? I'll unsubscribe
right.
to it. And it shouldn't take long. You unsubscribe. They may ask you why. You don't have to tell them. You just say, I want to
Yeah,
unsubscribe from this and no longer see it.
yeah.
And there it is.
Now,
So
there's a
yeah.
caveat to this. If there's something that looks sketchy, like if you got an email that looks sketchy, just delete it.
Yeah, just
Don't
delete that.
don't click on anything on that email.
No, no,
If you're
no.
like, I don't remember this company, I don't know why I'm getting this. Don't like I forget I got something from Rite Aid or Walgreens, and I'm like, I've never used that business before.
Right.
Why am I getting, and you look at the to line and it's or from line and it says Rite Aid, but it actually has somebody else's name and dot at RU, and you're like, nice try. You
Run.
almost got me. You
You
almost
almost
got
you
me there.
tried. Hey, you
Delete.
was close. You was
Yeah,
close.
or
No.
mark as
Yeah.
phishing or mark as spam.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just you'll never have to worry about it again. But
Yep.
all right. Any parting thoughts, Mr. Joel?
Hey, knowing is half the battle. And once you know, you apply. G.I. Joe. Hey.
Yeah.
Yo, Joe.
2023 could be the year we get
It,
sued.
it could be. They're going to put us on the map. I
It
feel
could be the year. Any
it.
day now. This could be the episode that
This
gets
could
us
be
sued.
it.
They went
60,
after Meta.
60
Take them to court.
minutes. We're ready.
Right.
Hey,
Yeah.
we're ready.
So here we
Hey,
are.
what
Here we
about
are.
you, man? Anything?
Yeah, it's just, take the time to understand what you're giving up for what you're getting, right?
Yep.
Look at those end user license agreement. Sometimes when you read through those end user license agreement, you're like, holy cow, I can't take these people to court because it says arbitration is done between us. Like I just basically agreed to not take these people to court.
Yep.
There are ways around that, right? But as long as that might be one of the clauses in there. And you're like,
Yep.
I can't believe I agreed to that or almost agreed to that. So take a moment, explain that, walk your kids through that, right? Like
Yep.
learn how to do it yourself, and then walk your kids through that. It was a valuable lesson my mom gave to me in life. She's gone now, but it's one of the things I'm thankful for that she impressed upon me as a child was read through these things. Like there are surprising things in here that you
Yep.
don't want to be surprised at an inopportune time. Like
I
when you're
agree.
trying to cancel and you're like, what do you mean I owe you 2 more years of dues? I'm canceling now. And you're like, yeah, the contract says you have to give us 90 days, 2 years notice if you're going to cancel. And
Yep.
well, you're canceling now. So that means you have to pay for the next 2 years. You're like,
I might as well keep it.
Might as well keep it. So Joel, if people like the content, what should they do?
Subscribe, click on it, comment back. Hey, we love to hear feedback. Hit the button. Hey, thank you. We appreciate you. It's number 40.
Number 40.
Hey, we're just moving, cooking along.
Just moving in. And 2023, we're going to try some different things. We're going to try and get out on the road maybe and try some conferences and do some live recording. So if you guys have any suggestions or anything, please let us know. We're going to start off the next episode, I think, saying this so people don't tune us out and they write the comments and everything. But, you made it to the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great week.
Bye.